Hello.
Hi, welcome to In-Laws and Crime. I'm Ashley.
I am Megan. This is In-Laws and Crime.
And we're back again for the final episode of David Elliott Penton.
We're about to put this MFer
to bed.
Night-night.
Mm-hmm.
Time for him to go goodbye. Yes. I am quite over him. As I'm sure all of you are as well.
I'm very over him.
He's consumed your life for...
He really has.
What, 2 weeks now?
Yeah. Well, 3
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Insane.
Yeah.
Well, we did a double record. So we just recorded part 2 and now we're on part 3 right now. And in between these two, I did remember I don't know if it'd be, I guess it would be considered a crime file for us, but in the little hometown that's next to, basically my hometown, Maybank, on June 27th, I believe, the annual Maybank Rodeo is such a big deal to Maybank and to all the little surrounding towns. So like Eustis and Kemp and 7 Points and all of that, the Maybank Rodeo is pretty big. And so this year it was the same deal. And unfortunately, I think it was the last night of the rodeo. So June 27th, which was a Saturday, I believe, the rodeo had ended and they were directing traffic of people leaving the rodeo. And the fire chief, Charles Woodard, was struck and killed by a vehicle. Which is so sad because I knew him. I didn't know him personally, but he was a very big pillar in the community. And he was, so involved in different community activities and stuff and was just such a great guy. And anyways, I believe it was an accident. It wasn't intentional, but just horrifying. And just wanted to mention that's been heavy on my mind as well. So horrible.
How horrible.
Yeah.
I would think that your speed, like leaving a rodeo, is slow. There's a lot of people moving out and trying to get, on the roads, and he's out there directing traffic. I would think, to me, you would have to be going pretty fast, I would think.
You would have to. And I know that the road that the rodeo is off of, I think the top speed limit right there is less than 55. And so I don't know. And there was probably a ton of cars leaving. So yeah, I don't know. But I think they said the investigation's ongoing, even though it was an accident. I don't know if maybe alcohol was involved.
Alcohol, if they're on their phone.
On their phone.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, so unfortunate. But
that's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, I just wanted to add that in there before we get started on part 3 of this freaking monster. Mm-hmm. I'm really glad we're about to put it to bed.
We're putting him to bed. And I didn't mention this in the second episode, but again, I read a book called David Penton, A Real Life Boogeyman by Steve Jackson.
Okay.
That's the book that I read.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to recap for episode 2. Mm-hmm. And where at Sunny Cab had told Gary about a photo album of little girls and pictures of vehicles in Penton's cell. Mm-hmm. And Gary had also set up a meeting with Tammy Lopez to update her on her daughter's case.
Yeah.
And in doing so, that's when Tammy told Gary she believed her daughter was alive and living in Mexico.
So sad.
And Gary brought Tammy and her parents to the station to show her the video of how they were able to ID Roxanne. And this is when Tammy re-looked at the composite sketch of Roxanne's kidnapper and pointed out the mole above the right eye on the sketch.
The red flag that God smacked on his head.
Yes. Yeah. So this was a big deal because it was a detail that Gary hadn't noticed initially.
Yeah.
Then our 3 informants all of a sudden had a list of demands in order to cooperate with detectives, which Gary absolutely refused to give in to their demands. And then he worked with Shay Harris in Ohio, who put Gary in contact with 2 other informants who were willing to help, and in exchange for nothing. Mm-hmm. And then in part 2, Gary also spoke with Wanda Higgins, the eyewitness from the apartment complex the day Roxanne was taken. Mm-hmm. And now it's been 7 years since Gary first stepped into the murder closet, and now he's finally ready to sit down with David himself.
With the monster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you have not listened to part 1 and part 2, pause us right now and go do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're going to be real lost.
You need to hear it in order.
Yeah.
Okay. In preparation for talking to Penton, Gary read everything he could about psychopaths. His biggest takeaway was that serial killers have big egos and believe that they're smarter than everyone around them.
Yeah.
Which we already know. So Gary studied hard before he and Bruce Bradshaw made the trip to talk to David Penton in Ohio. Gary knew that Penton was going to outright knew that he wasn't going to tell them what he had done, but he hoped that he could play the game well enough that Penton would end up owning up to his crimes. Unfortunately, it had started to circulate that Penton was in the hot seat, so he was moved to another facility where no one knew what was going on. This new prison was in Marion, Ohio, and they didn't have an interrogation room, which I found odd.
That's very odd.
Yes. So Gary and Bruce were waiting for Penton in a cell toward the front of this facility that was used for interviews, attorneys, and whatnot.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they were sitting in a cell.
How old is this damn jail?
I don't know. So as Penton was led into the cell and greeted by the two detectives, Penton looked very confused. And Gary said, "Have a seat." And as the detectives introduced themselves, confusion turned into absolute fear across Penton's face.
Which is so confusing to me because Penton has been going around singing like a canary on himself.
Yeah.
Oh, here he is,
Hello,
the man of the
Batchy.
hour.
Hello, Batchy.
He says, just checking in.
Yes. Okay. And we're back.
And hello. Back again.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys.
Our co-host, Apache, had to go to the bathroom.
And you saw, if you're watching, you saw how big he is.
Yeah, he's a big
and
boy.
I would just have to leave the door open. There's no doggy door for that.
No,
dog that
there's
big.
no dog door big enough for that.
No. Okay. So we were at Gary and Bruce were introducing themselves, and fear went across
Yeah, which I said is so weird.
Penton's face.
Yeah.
Yes. So like I said, because he thought he was so much smarter than everyone else.
Yeah.
Get this. As he's panicking about what's going on, he pees himself.
Why did I know you were going to say that?
He pees himself.
Why did I know you were going to say
Right in front
that?
of the detectives. Just, yep, let it go.
Wow.
I could just scream about how much I hate this dude.
That is in...
He can prey on innocent little girls without a problem.
Yeah.
But when faced with real men, turned into an absolute coward
And
who peed all over himself.
Like a little baby.
Yeah. So Penton then crossed his legs and tried to hide the fact that he's soiled himself.
And now he's reeking of urine.
And he hoped that the detectives didn't see it, but they did indeed. And they could indeed smell it.
That's disgusting.
They said the odor was so strong, it was like cat pee.
That's
They said it was
disgusting.
awful. Either way, they pretended not to notice that Penton had peed himself, and they ignored the smell that filled the room.
Yeah, I'm glad they did. And I'm glad that they made him sit in it.
Yep. Yeah. So not only did he pee himself, but they said the blood drained from his face.
Yeah.
Then Penton spoke up and said, "I'm glad you guys are here. I wanted to tell you that I didn't do these crimes I've been accused of."
Really? Mr. Pee Pants?
Yeah. Then Gary lifted a hand to stop Penton from talking and said, "We didn't come here to talk about whether you did or you didn't do it. We know you did it."
Yeah.
And he said, "We just wanted to meet you before we bring you back to Texas to kill you."
Oh my. I just got chills.
Penton immediately said,
Oh.
"I didn't do anything." Gary repeated himself, "We aren't here to talk about it." And Bruce followed up with, "David, we know you did it." Penton, now squirming in his seat, went silent. So Gary, having studied hard before the interview, said, "David, I'll give you credit," he said, shaking his head. "You were very good at it. Look how long it took us to catch you."
Yeah.
Like trying to play into that ego, right?
Butter him up a little bit.
Penton smiled at the comment At some point in the interview, Bruce said, "What if I told you that we searched your old home and found evidence?" And Penton fired back and said, "You have nothing. I'm smarter than that." He further went on to say that even if he did hide evidence in his house, all he needed to do was make one phone call to his mom, and she would dispose of anything that she asked him to.
Good. So now your mom's an accomplice. Good deal.
She loved him and would do anything for him. Now remember from episode part 1 that his sister refused to cooperate with police because she was now back in close proximity to her mother.
Yes.
Who,
after there was a whole transcript of her detailing what a monster he was.
Correct. So Gary and Bruce are struggling not to react, but they have to keep their cool.
Yeah.
Then Penton said, "You can't have anything other than circumstantial evidence. I'm not stupid. I didn't leave any evidence." Then the detectives asked, "Did you use a condom?" And when they asked this question, Penton realized he basically admitted to the crimes by stating that they could only have circumstantial evidence. So he knew with this statement that he messed up.
Yeah. Idiot.
They went back and forth playing mind games with Penton, admitting to some crimes and denying others. After hours of back and forth, they told Penton that the DA on the case had been nicknamed the Grim Reaper because of the amount of people he successfully put on death row. Penton replied, and I quote, "Tell the Grim Reaper that I will confess if he pays off my debt to the state of Ohio and gets me a color TV for my cell." Right.
Yeah. Once again, listen here, Mr. P Pants. We are not.
Exactly. Gary immediately replied, "We're not playing let's make a deal."
Yeah.
To which Penton laughed, which just fueled the detective's anger even more.
Yeah.
The back and forth continued until Penton finally said, and again I quote, "I ain't saying shit while my mom is still alive."
As he's sitting in his own urine. Like, I just keep picturing that.
I know. What a coward.
Idiot.
At that, the detectives told Penton that they would see him again in Texas, and Penton was escorted out. Gary and Bruce were happy with the admissions that they did get, but were concerned if it was enough to hold up in court.
Yeah.
The guys wanted to come back the next day in hopes that this time they could record the conversation with Penton. Texas allowed interrogations to be recorded, and they hoped that Ohio would allow it as well. The next day, Gary and Bruce returned to the prison with Dawn and Billy, this time, the two other detectives from before. So all 4 detectives could interview Penton. When Penton was brought to the interrogation room, the detectives took the opportunity to go through his cell, which they noted was very neat and tidy. But they discovered an escape bag. So it was like a bag with changes, street clothes and stuff.
Oh, really?
So they knew at this point Penton might be planning something. During the interview, all 4 detectives came at Penton hard and fast with their questions, leaving him no time to think about his responses. He ended up telling them that while in Texas, he was heavily doing crack cocaine, and sometimes he would black out. So it was possible
here we go.
that he committed these crimes and just couldn't remember.
Yeah, sure.
And this is an excuse that is commonly used by other monsters, because the using "I blacked out" excuse made them seem far less of a monster, right? Because they weren't in their right mind. If they were in their right mind, they would never commit the crimes that they're being accused of.
Yeah.
So Bruce Bradshaw had spent a lot of time studying psychopaths and pedophiles after the disappearance of Christy Meeks. So Bruce was going to come at Penton from a different angle. He was going to get in on Penton's level.
Oh.
So Bruce continued that he believed that he knew what happened the day that he abducted Christy Meeks. He said that he believed that when Penton put Christy in his car and started having sex with her, that she began to scream. So he covered her mouth, and that's when Penton accidentally suffocated her. So Christy's death was really her own fault for screaming.
That's so sick to have to get in that twisted state.
But as Bruce is trying this tactic, a small smile grows across Penton's face.
Ew.
And his eyes glazed over. Penton was literally getting off on Bruce talking about Christie's abduction.
What the hell?
Yeah. Bruce, they're all horrified.
I have got
horrified.
to go. What in the world?
Bruce immediately stopped talking when he realized what was happening, and the room fell completely silent.
Yeah, they were probably all freaking disgusted.
The other detectives knew what Bruce was trying to do. He was trying to get the confession from Penton by trying to relate to him about his crimes, but it backfired. Finally, one of the detectives broke the silence and told Penton they would see him back in Texas where he was going to die.
Golly.
This triggered Penton to get into a religious debate with the detectives, who all four were men of faith. Ohio officers had warned detectives not to get into religious debates with Penton because when he wasn't bragging about his crimes, he was reading his Bible and attending Bible studies.
What? Oh my gosh.
But Gary Sweet was up for the challenge. The two went back and forth about Penton's judgment day on earth and then the one he would receive in heaven. By the time the debate was over, it was clear to detectives that Penton was defeated. Gary had won the religious debate and pointed out that Penton was not a man of God because he refused to confess his sins and continued to lie to cover up his crimes. Before they left, detectives again said that we'll see you in Texas, and they parted ways because Penton continued to say that his sins were forgiven. So even if he died, he's like, if you kill me, it's fine. I'm going to heaven. And then Gary's like, actually, you're not.
Yeah.
Because you won't confess.
You're not giving any closure to families.
Yeah.
You're not confessing.
You're continuing to lie.
You're wanting to, and you're lying.
Yeah.
And you're still obviously getting off on this stuff.
Yeah. So, right.
You sick monster.
Yeah. And I didn't put this in here, but at one point, like, Penton's getting frustrated and he fires back that he's like, well, you're going to be sitting up there on Judgment Day with me. And then Gary fires back and he goes, and so will the three little girls, and they'll speak their truth that day.
Absolutely, they will.
And so then that's like when it really got a little heated between the two of them.
God.
Anyway, okay. It's now August of 2003, and David Penton is finally extradited to Texas to stand trial.
Wow.
Gary, Bruce, Don, and Billy all came together at Collin County Jail so they could see Penton walk through the doors. To their surprise, Penton had lost about 30 to 40 pounds.
I bet.
Over the stress of this coming his way.
Good.
Bruce finally broke the silence and said to Penton as he walked by, we told you were going to be back to Texas. We were going to see you again in Texas. To which Penton did not reply, but the look on his face said it all. He knew his days were numbered.
Yeah.
As the news of Penton's indictment in Texas hit the TVs across the U.S., two more women came forward saying that Penton had tried to abduct them when they were young.
Oh my gosh.
In fact, one of the women, Tanya Dickerman, was particularly interesting to detectives because her attempted abduction was November 30th of 1978. It was the same month and year of Roxanne's abduction. Tanya told detectives what happened. She said her and her brother were walking to school that morning when she noticed a gray sedan following her and her brother. When school let out, she was walking home by herself and saw the gray sedan again. The man pulled up and asked if she wanted to go with him to get ice cream. Tanya said no and began to run. She ran straight to her neighbor's home, and the neighbor called police.
Wow.
When Tanya's mother came home from work, her back door was wide open.
What?
Like he knew how she came out of.
That is terrifying.
Isn't that awful?
Wow.
Tanya confirmed a report had been filed, and when they dug in, they found out that actually Bruce Bradshaw was the responding officer at the time.
Oh, hell.
And he had completely forgotten about the call, but once he read the report, he remembered. He said the kids weren't able to give a license plate number or anything. He said, so I didn't have much to follow up on.
Yeah.
The other woman that came forward was Amanda Rollins. She said in January of 1985, she was playing outside her apartment complex when Penton pulled up and grabbed her. But she kicked so hard that he dropped her, let her go.
Oh my gosh, good for her.
Yes. She ran and hid in the bushes until he left.
Wow.
When shown a photo lineup with the mugshot of Penton, other than the one that was broadcast across the news stations, she did not hesitate in IDing Penton as her abductor that day.
Wow. Mm-hmm. God, that is insane. Mm-hmm. And there's no telling how many more.
Oh, yeah.
That he even stalked or tried to abduct.
Oh, yeah. Well, how many in Louisiana, Arkansas, Indiana?
Yeah.
Anyway, so all the pretrial hearings and motions were now complete, and Penton was to stand trial on January 10th, 2004. The trial was going to start with Gary Sweet's case on Roxanne Reyes because her case had the most damning evidence and more witnesses than the other two cases. Mm-hmm. Gary would go up last for Roxanne and tie the investigation together before the other two cases were brought to the jury. Greg Davis, the DA, was very confident in their case and that David Penton would be put to death. Then, just days before jury selection was to begin, the detectives received a call to report to the courthouse. They all just assumed it was another pretrial hearing or something to do with the jury selection. But unfortunately, that was not the case at all. Greg Davis met the detectives and told them that Penton's attorneys claimed to have new evidence that showed David was working in Ohio at the time of Roxanne's abduction. Gary didn't say anything, but he knew immediately that that was a lie.
Yeah.
Because they had so much on Penton.
Yeah.
So Greg also didn't believe the evidence the other attorney claimed to have was valid, but all it would take was one juror to believe in the evidence that was presented for them to lose the case. Mm-hmm. And it was a risk Greg was not willing to take, because if they lost, they would not be able to retry Penton in the future, and he would eventually be set free in Ohio. Yep. Yeah, so there was a lot weighing on him. Mm-hmm. Penton was offered a deal that if he pled guilty to the 3 murders in Texas, he would receive a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole, and the death penalty would be off the table. And he also would wouldn't have any opportunity to appeal his conviction. Then Greg broke the news that Penton was already en route to the courthouse to enter his plea.
Wow.
The families of the victims were not consulted before the deal was made, and they were incredibly upset.
I bet.
They all wanted the death penalty. They were all told that he would get the death penalty.
Yeah, that was the whole reason of bringing him back to Texas.
Right. They felt absolutely betrayed and let down. In fact, once they were told that the deal, Linda and Mike Meeks promptly stood up and just walked right out of the room.
Wow.
The detectives stood in the courtroom as Penton entered his guilty plea. They described it as a bittersweet and anticlimactic. Penton never looked in their direction. He never confessed to any details, and he did not apologize to the families.
Wow.
He pled guilty and then was let out of the courtroom.
What a freaking punch to the gut.
Yeah. So now the news media were everywhere wanting to interview the attorneys and families. Greg Davis took the mic and explained that the new evidence had come to light and that it could have created a reasonable doubt in the jurors' minds as to Penton's guilt, and it just wasn't a risk he was willing to take. Mike Meeks also took the mic and stated his confusion about the entire case. He stated his frustration that the families weren't consulted about the decision, that for months they were told that this man would get the death penalty. He also couldn't understand why, if Penton was innocent of the crimes, why would he plead guilty if there was evidence that proved his innocence?
Yeah.
Laura Proctor, Christy's mom, also took the mic and said that at least Penton would never walk the streets again, even though they preferred the death penalty. Mm-hmm. And Tammy Lopez also stood up and said, he killed our children, but he also killed us. He destroyed the lives and also destroyed our lives. He destroyed their lives and also destroyed our lives. And through tears, she described Penton as an absolute devil that she too wished would have received the death penalty.
Man.
Greg Gibbs, one of Penton's defense attorneys, told the media that he was pleased with the plea bargain.
Yeah, I bet he was.
He said Penton understood he would never be a free man again. We just wanted to save his life, he told the Dallas Morning News.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. David is very ready to get out of Collin County Jail. I know he is glad this is over, and this brings closure to the family and to the client. I'm sorry, I don't give
two craps about David's closure.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither.
Golly.
Yep. Then Greg Gibbs admitted that the new evidence was not rock solid.
Yeah, of course it wasn't, because it was a lie.
Oh.
They knew if they presented that, they had some sort of evidence saying that he was not there.
Yeah.
That would make everybody double check themselves. Oh.
Yeah.
That is so frustrating.
So, well, here's unfortunately what happened. The evidence was brought to light too close to when the trial was to start. So detectives had no time to do due diligence to debunk whatever evidence these attorneys had and claimed to have. So this new evidence.
Yeah, please tell me.
This new evidence that caused the attorneys to make a deal was a time card from a temp agency in Ohio. So, of course, Gary Sweet is going to look into it.
Yeah.
Well, David was working for the temp agency, and he was in charge of the time cards, including his own.
Of course.
Meaning he could have easily forged the time card to create an alibi.
Yeah.
Personally, in my opinion, I don't think Penton was smart enough to create a fake alibi. I think he was adding time to his card for bigger paychecks.
Oh, yeah, true.
That's personally what I believe.
Yeah.
So
That's a really good point.
Yeah. He's not smart enough to create an alibi for something he didn't know he was going to commit.
Mr. P Pants is not that smart.
Mr. P Pants is not that smart. So this time card was flimsy evidence. But again, based on when it was presented and when the trial was to begin, there was not enough time for attorneys and detectives to debunk the forged time card.
Yeah.
The detectives asked Penton's attorneys if they could sit with him before he went back to Ohio. They wanted to see how close they were with their details about his crimes. The defense attorney was very complimentary of the detectives' work and how rock solid their case actually was.
Yeah.
But he was going to have to decline the request to speak to Penton. Gary pushed back and said that Penton had waived his rights to any appeals, so no matter what details he confirmed, he couldn't be tried on them.
Yeah, so why?
Right. The defense attorney understood, but he said, I'm worried that Penton might implicate himself in other crimes, which would open him up to be tried again.
I'm sure.
And it wasn't a risk he was willing to take. Gary understood because Jeffrey Sunnycab had told Gary numerous times that Penton had other victims. In fact, Gary had started to reach out to these other police departments, trying to get them to talk to Jeffrey about the unsolved kidnapper cases. Gary originally had not put much time into the unsolved cases because he was putting his time and energy in getting justice for his Texas girls. After everything was over, Gary sat down and started to call his eyewitnesses to tell them the plea deal. Tiffany Ibarra and Julia Diaz were happy with the outcome and very thankful they would not have to face David Penton in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Bruce Bradshaw was also happy with the outcome. He had seen the life that Penton would have, and it wasn't much. He thought about how Candy and Soda were treated like treasure in the prison, along with the very regimented daily life. A life in prison wasn't really a life at all. And he was also happy that the unsolved case was now solved and it could no longer haunt him. And he was very proud of the team the detectives had made together and the work that they put together to get Penton, charged on these crimes.
Yeah, that was a lot of footwork for them.
Gary Sweet had gained quite the reputation for solving cold cases and was asked to consult on cases in other states.
Wow.
He continued to talk to Jeffrey Sonneckab almost daily.
Wow.
And he started making notes on all the other cases Jeffrey had information on and then reached out to those police departments so that they could start looking into them.
Mm-hmm.
However, we know Jeffrey's still a twat.
Yeah.
So Jeffrey didn't want to talk to any other detective. He only wanted to talk to Gary.
Oh my gosh.
But Garland PD quickly told Gary or Jeffrey that they can't send Gary all over the country to solve these cases.
Yeah.
That Jeffrey needed to start cooperating with other, detectives in other states.
Gary's not your personal detective.
Yeah, I know you've built a relationship over the past 7 years you guys have been talking, but... So one of the Texas cases that Jeffrey told Gary about was Angelica Gandara in Temple, Texas. Gary reached out to the Texas Ranger assigned to the case, but he responded by sending Gary his files on the case and told him good luck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was surprised by that.
Yeah.
Like everyone else was like ready to jump in. Like, let me help you in any way that I can.
That came from a Texas Ranger too.
Yeah. He said he was nearing retirement and had no interest in working the cold case.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoever you are. Wow.
Yeah.
Glad that wasn't my relative's case you were working on.
Right. So Gary ended up reaching back out to the Temple Police Department and was able to talk to Detective Jerry Bryan. Jerry was definitely interested in the case. So Gary began working with Jerry to help solve the case of Angelica Gandara, who went missing in July of 1985 while she was walking home from her grandmother's house. She was 11 at the time of her abduction.
So sad.
Another case Jeffrey told Gary about was a little girl in Big Sandy. He said Penton bragged how he abducted her from her bedroom while her parents slept.
Worst fear. Absolute worst fear.
He said he crawled into a window and carried her right past her parents' bedroom with their door open and right out the front door.
That is insane work.
So Gary dug in and found that indeed, April 2nd of 1986, five-year-old Ara Nisi, is what she goes by, Johnson, was abducted from her bedroom and never heard from again. Nisi's mom said she put her daughter to bed that night in a pair of panties and was wrapped in an orange bedspread.
Oh my gosh.
And her dad had last checked on her just after 1 a.m. and she was still in bed. When her parents woke up the next morning, their daughter was gone, and so was the bedspread, and the front door was wide open.
Oh my gosh.
Gary called the Big Sandy Police Department to ask about the details of the case. They confirmed the kidnapper gained access through a back window and left through the front door, confirming exactly what Sonneckab had said.
Yeah.
Gary tried to get Big Sandy Police Department interested in the case, but they never called him back.
Guys,
get your life together,
I know
Big
somebody
Sandy
from
PD.
Big Sandy's listening.
I'm sure they are. Anyway.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, so it was a while. So 3 years later, Gary reached out to Upshur County Sheriff's Office. He was put in touch with Freddie Fitzgerald. Freddie was definitely interested in the case and drove to Garland several times to review Gary's work on David Penton. The investigation gained some traction, and Sheriff Anthony told Tyler Courier Times that Penton was now a person of interest in the disappearance of Nisi Johnson. But this was like in 2007.
Oh, okay.
So unfortunately, her case still remains unsolved. Her body has not been located.
Really?
But we know if David Penton is responsible, she's not located in Big Sandy, right? She's going to be taken away.
Yeah.
And she's going to be somewhere super remote.
Yeah, somewhere random.
Yeah. So,
especially around here, East Texas, there's so many rural areas.
Yeah. Okay. This is the last horrible thing about David Elliott Penton.
Okay.
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 So he began opening up to talk to news media.
Why?
He hadn't ever before. But he wouldn't talk about the cases. He maintained his innocence and that he was not responsible for the deaths of the girls in Texas or of Nidra Ross.
Okay, sure.
But he did admit to soliciting prostitutes, underage prostitutes, while in Korea. And this is a quote.
I don't want to hear it.
You don't. Because you're just... Okay. We all want the death penalty for David.
For this guy, yeah.
It wasn't so much, this is a quote, it wasn't so much that I fancied the age as it was about the cleanliness. I mean, there's a lot of diseases out there. So he's saying he went for these young girls because he knew they wouldn't be disease-ridden.
That is...
Yeah. He's worried about STDs. So he went to children.
You're a disease, David. You're
a
an
disease.
STD. You're a walking, breathing STD.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Yeah.
That is disgusting.
Interestingly enough, his first exclusive interview was with the Tyler Courier Times Telegraph.
What?
In March of 2007, when he became a person of interest in R.N. Nisi Johnson's case.
Uh-huh.
And I found the interview online, but I only read the first 2 pages because he was just trying to tell his own story.
He's rambling on about himself.
Yeah, and how he's innocent, and I'm just not interested in reading that. But anyway, David Elliott Penton is still alive today. He's still currently sitting in Ohio. He is 68 years old today. And he is to be released from Ohio prison next year.
Wow.
In 2027. But I mean, he won't be released. He'll just be sent straight to here.
Yeah, to Texas.
And I really hope that our guys take care of him in prison.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure he'll be protected here too.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
Because God forbid we get rid of a pedophile.
He'll sit with all the other ones that are sick.
I can't. Anyway, that is the monster that is David Elliott Penton. He is out of our lives now and forever.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
May he rot.
May he rot.
Wow. That was an intense 3 episodes.
Yeah, it was awful, wasn't it?
That was absolutely awful.
Yeah.
I cannot believe the big Sandy girl.
Yeah.
Little Nisi. That's horrifying.
Yeah.
That's literally my worst nightmare.
Yeah. I really hope that they can connect him, because if they can bring in another case, so if Angelica Gandara or Nisi Johnson can be connected to him, then we can try him again, and then there's a possibility the death penalty is back on the table.
Yeah, because he's only 68.
Yeah, we need these cases connected to him. Or if any other case, Arkansas, Louisiana, or Indiana, get pinned on him, then if their states have the death penalty, then maybe he'd be up for it again. So there's opportunity out there to still take him out.
Insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're gonna do palate cleansers for the next.
Yeah, and I kind of had an idea, which I haven't talked to you about, Ashley.
Oh, let's hear it.
Maybe if y'all comment or something or let us know. I thought about for palate cleanser episodes of doing something outside of Texas, like not necessarily. It can kind of be tied to crime, but like a really wild story. I found one that I would like to dive into, and it's it's actually out of this country, but it's about this woman.
We didn't even stay in the U.S. Okay.
But it's just it's a really interesting story about this harrowing tale of this girl that got put in a really bad position. She gets out of that bad position, and she basically creates a whole gang to seek revenge. It's a true story.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Let us know if you would,
have an
which that
idea.
ties to crime, but it's definitely not in Texas, and it's actually not in the United States.
That's so funny. Okay. So well, mine is my palate cleanser that I was going to do is it is in Texas. It's a little far stretch to be in East Texas.
Oh, okay.
It's closer to the Louisiana border, but it was one my my Meemaw brought up the other day, so I made a note of it. And there's quite a bit of information on it online, so I think I've got enough to make a nice little episode on it.
Yeah.
No murder, no rape or anything, so it'll be a nice palate cleanser.
Yeah. That'll be great.
No, yeah. So it'll be good.
Be great.
Yeah.
My next one is gonna.
Yeah, you're reading a book right now.
I'm reading a book right now. No children, so that's good. And this is kind of an older one, so that's good.
I've got one in my pipeline that I want to do. That's an 1800s case out of Jefferson.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. I just need time to read the book on it.
Well, there you go. I think those are good palate cleansers from this absolute mind.
Yeah, I'm here for the palate cleansers for a bit.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well,
if you have something haunted, I would cover something haunted. If you guys have an idea, suggestion of
paranormal stuff
something
is always welcomed in our weird little family here. So
yeah, I actually have a link in all of our like future cases for ghost towns. If you ever want to cover a ghost town, there's quite a few of them here.
Yeah.
So
okay, well there you go. Okay, guys,
like, subscribe, and share.
Yes, please rate and review us. Keep those coming. And if you have a tale or recommendation or anything, email us at inlawsandcrime@gmail.com. And keep your roots deep
And your head on a swivel.
Bye.